Okay, let's begin by offering our respects to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Magyana Tirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nirvana, mira que apreté algo. Nirvana. A ver, ayúdame.
Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? We are on chapter number?
On 2.
Chapter number 2. So how many works have we seen so far?
We have seen
2.3.
7.
We saw from 2.3 onwards till
2.7.
2.7, yes. And very, very significant verse we saw in the previous class. What was that?
Karpanya dosho.
Karpanya. Very nice. So what happens in that verse?
In that verse, Arjuna is surrendering to Krishna as his disciple.
Exactly. So it's very, very significant because that's the verse where Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. We saw how Krishna does not begin to give philosophical advice to Arjuna until he asks for it. So when we ask for it, then Krishna will give it to us. Very nice. So that's why it's considered to be the turning point of the Bhagavad Gita. Another important lesson we learn from that is when one should not only ask for instructions, one must ask for education so that we can take important decisions in our life. And when we are dealing with our inferiors, with our children or with people we are preaching to, or if we are cultivating someone, if we are in such a position where we have to guide someone else, then we should not only give instructions, but we have to give the education by which they can take the right decisions. So why? Because then it will help to strengthen the faith of the children or people whom we are cultivating. Just don't give the instruction, but give the education that is required. You know, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that whatever I had to say, whatever I had to teach you, I have taught you. Now it's up to you what you want to do. Krishna tells Arjuna. So he doesn't force Arjuna to fight. So he says, Yathechasi tatha kuru. It's up to you what you want to do. Do as you like. So we have to learn this very important instruction also from Krishna. Okay, do we have any questions before we proceed to today's class? So I welcome you all. Very happy to see Aja. Then we have Anita. We have Bhumika, Disha, Jadwani, Disha Melwani. Then we have Deepa, Harman, Hema, Kalpana, Karuna, Lal Melwani, Mampi Biswas, Meena Bharwani, Mehak Bakshani. Then we have NC Venkatchari, Neelam, Neha Chatlani, Ninad Mehta. Then we have Pavani, Rajan Girdhar. He's from the land of Kurukshetra where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And then my parents are there. We have Rito Lalwani, Sandra. We have Shivani, Sri Hari Radha Mataji. We have Usha, Varsha Mayani, Venkatesh A. We have Lavina and we have Nisha Dadlani. So thank you very much for joining our weekly classes. Okay, let's proceed to today's. Who can read today?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes. Sri Hari Radha Mataji. Thank you very much.
Should I start now?
No, 1 second. Hold on. We'll start with the shlokas first.
Nahi prapashyami mamapanudhyat yachchokamuchoshanamindriyanam avapya bhumavasapatnamriddham rajyam suranam api chadhipatyam.
Now, yes, translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Hare Krishna.
So, who's the speaker of this verse?
Arjuna?
Arjuna, yes. So, Arjuna is saying that his senses are drying up. He says, Indriyanam, his senses are uchosanam. It is all drying up. Why? Because he says that I can find no means to drive away this grief. He's so completely shattered. He's having such a emotional breakdown that he's saying that there is no means by which this grief can go away. Now, Arjuna is in a very, very exalted position. We have discussed so many times, he's a Kshatriya, he belongs to the royal family, he's the most powerful warrior on earth, he's famous there. And what can go wrong for him? Materially, he has everything going for him, but still he's saying that there is no way by which I can dispel this grief. And the grief is so much that his senses are being getting dried up. And he says that I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom. So he's saying if I have a Rajyam, a kingdom, which is Riddham, which is very, very prosperous, which is without any enemies, a sapatnam. So if he says that if I have a kingdom which is prosperous and has no enemies, and a kingdom which is equal to that of the Suranam, equal to that of the demigods, even the Devatas, if the kingdom is so prosperous like that of the Devatas, even then he says that I will not be able to dispel this grief. So having this kingdom is like a dream-like situation for any king, a kingdom which is prosperous like those of the Devatas in heaven, a kingdom which has no enemies, is a dream situation. But he says that even such a kingdom will not be able to dispel away this grief. So as we discussed, Arjuna had everything going for him: talent, skill, health, family. So even he has health by his side. He's skilled, he's talented, he has a very good family, devotee family, and most importantly, he has friendship with Krishna. Yet he was not able to solve a difficult situation. In the same way, we also face so many problems like illness, and the recovery may be very slow in the illness, or there may be a sudden death in the family. There may be a tormenting boss in the office, or we have problems with our relatives, with our partner, spouse, children, or parents, work environment, tension in relationships. So like that, we may have so many other conflicts, and we realize when we have such conflicts that physical comforts will not help us in such emotional conflicts. So material qualifications like wealth, beauty, fame, strength, connections, educational degrees will not help us to solve emotional conflicts. We have to have a particular solution to a particular problem. Just because one may be rich, or one may belong to a very strong family, or one may have beauty or youth by one side, or several degrees, qualifications, educational qualification, doesn't mean that we can overcome emotional conflicts. For example, if I'm hungry, if I sleep on a 24 plated or a 24 gold carat bed, my hunger is not going to go away. To solve my problem of hunger, I need to eat. So we need specific solutions to specific problems. You know, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a story of a king. He had 10 million wives, Maharaj Prithu. He had 10 million wives, but he did not have a child from any of those wives. So he said that all the respect that I receive, all the glory that I get is like I think he said receiving garlands, giving several garlands to a hungry man. So what is the use of that? So material qualifications will not help us solve the real problems of life. We discussed what are the 4 real problems of life in the previous class. What are they?
Birth, old age, disease, and mrityu, death.
Yes, birth, death, disease, and old age. Janma, mrityu, jara, and vyadi. So our real problems are these 4, and material qualifications will not help us solve these real problems. We are like the fish out of the water. The fish, the real abode of the fish is in the water. And once you take the fish out of water, no matter what you offer the fish is not going to be happy. The fish just wants to go back into the waters. So our real abode is the spiritual world, because we are spirit souls. We are spirit souls. So we have come from the spiritual world. And as long as we are in this material world, we are not going to be happy. We think that we will be happy by so many other means. No, I can get a better car, a better house, good clothes, or so many other things. Or we want that we should have good degrees, a good job, good family. I should get a good husband, good wife. But nothing is going to help us. We are going to be happy only when we go back to where we came from. There is no place like home, we say, no. So our home is the spiritual world. Let's go to 2.9.
Sanjaya Uvacha एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तप न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः.
Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjun, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Hare Krishna.
Now Sanjaya is speaking, and he's telling Dhritarashtra that having spoken thus, see the word uktva means spoke. So there are two uktvas here in this verse. The first uktva refers to what Arjuna has spoken thus far, and the second uktva refers to what Arjuna is going to say now. So having spoken thus, Sanjaya is saying, then what did Gudakesha or what did Parantapa say? To whom? To Rishikesha, that Govinda, I will not fight. So we have two names of Arjuna and two names of Krishna in this verse. What are the two names of Krishna?
Gudakesha and Parantapa and Govindam.
No, two names of Krishna.
Govindam and Gudakesha. Parantapa. Hirishikesha and Govindam. Oh my God.
Yeah, so Rishikesha and Govindam. What does the name Rishikesha mean?
I think it has to do with the sense.
Master of senses.
Master of the
senses.
senses. Yes, very nice. And the word Govinda means?
Gives pleasure
Attraction,
to
honor.
senses.
Gives pleasure to the senses. But Govinda also has two more meanings. What are they?
Pleasure to the cows and pleasure to the land.
Yes, exactly. Very nice. And what are the two names of Arjuna we see in this verse?
Parantapa and Gudakesh.
So Gudakesha means what?
Someone who conquers the sleep.
One who conquers sleep or one who conquers ignorance. So one of the characteristics of a person who's in the mode of ignorance is that he likes to sleep a lot. So ignorance is compared to sleep. So Arjuna has conquered sleep, he has conquered ignorance, therefore he is called as Gudakesha. And Parantapa means?
The chastiser of enemies.
Yes, the chastiser of the enemies. So here again, Sanjaya disappoints Dhritarashtra by saying that Arjuna will actually chastise the enemies. So after saying this, now Arjuna has said this and he says, I shall not fight. Now in which verse did Arjuna surrender to Krishna? It was in 2.7, right? So one may think that, okay, 2.7 Arjuna surrendered. So 2.8 Krishna is going to start speaking. But no, Krishna still is silent. And Arjuna has spoken two more. I mean, Arjuna spoke one verse, then Sanjaya is narrating. So two. And so here 2.8 we see Arjuna continued to speak even after he surrendered. Because by doing so, Arjuna is showing his determination that yes, I want to receive guidance from my spiritual master. So Krishna sees that how badly does he require it. So Arjuna shows his determination here. And then we have this verse. And now finally in 2.11, Krishna starts to speak. But again 2.10, Sanjaya is narrating. Let's hear the verse.
तमुवाच हृषीकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः.
O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
This name Bharata here refers to whom?
Arjun.
No.
The grandfather, great grandfather.
Dhritarashtra.
Yes, it refers to Dhritarashtra because they are all descendants of Bharat Maharaj, right? So here it refers to Dhritarashtra because Sanjaya is speaking this verse to Dhritarashtra. So he is telling Dhritarashtra, oh, descendant of Bharata at that time. What is Krishna doing? He's smiling. Prahasan. So Krishna is smiling when Arjuna is grief-stricken. So let's say somebody is crying in front of us and he's so overwhelmed with grief. And if we start to smile, then it is considered good or bad?
Bad.
Bad.
Bad, yeah, because somebody is in such a terrible situation. So the situation is very grave and very serious. So how can one smile? But why is Krishna smiling here? Is he making fun of Arjuna? Or is
No,
he
because
enjoying the grief
no,
of
be,
Arjuna?
no, because he's thinking that Arjun is a Kshatriya. How can Arjun's mind is pondering over these things in the middle of the battlefield when he's ready to fight? It doesn't make any sense, and it says that how this weakness has come into you. He's just saying, this is not you. You give up this.
Okay, anybody else wants to try?
I will say that Krishna knows everything. He made his mind up like this, right, to give the Gita for everyone. So he knows the reason behind why he's confused and why he's in this state. That's the reason he's smiling. I don't know.
Okay.
Or because
Perspective?
Arjuna has surrendered to him.
Because Arjuna has surrendered to him. So that makes Krishna happy, isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
That's what Prabhupada explains in the purport, that Krishna is very glad that Arjuna has done the right thing by surrendering unto him. So when we don't know what to do, we should know what to do. So Arjuna, he didn't know what to do. He was completely, he had this emotional breakdown, yes. But even in the midst of that emotional breakdown, in that terrible situation, he knew exactly what he has to do. So another important lesson for us, when you don't know what to do, you should know what to do, which is to surrender to a superior authority. Surrender to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So yes, Krishna is glad actually that Arjuna has surrendered to him. Krishna is glad that now the friend Arjuna is now going to become a student. Krishna is glad that the battlefield is now going to convert to a classroom. So, but anyway, this smile was very brief. It was a very brief smile because Krishna, of course, understanding the gravity of the situation, it's not that he's smiling for extended periods of time. And also, if Krishna was enjoying the grief of Arjuna, because that happens to people, no, on an ordinary material platform, that sometimes if one is distressed, then some others may enjoy the distress of another person, unfortunately. But if it was that Krishna is enjoying the distress of Arjuna, then he wouldn't have spoken such profound knowledge immediately thereafter. So Krishna is smiling because his friend has become a disciple. Krishna's smiling gradually changes to a more grave expression. He will now act as Arjuna's spiritual master. And the talks between spiritual master and disciple are serious. Therefore, Krishna first smiles. This is called as Rasa Sandhi, or a meeting of two different rasas. So rasa, we will discuss this rasa. Friendship here gives way to parental affection, which is similar to the relationship between the guru and disciple. So relationship between guru and disciple is very much like the relationship between parents and the children. In fact, the spiritual master is called as the spiritual father. And when we get initiation from the spiritual master, that is considered our second birth. Therefore, when we receive initiation, we get a name, spiritual name from the spiritual master. Because just as how the father gives a name to the child upon birth, the spiritual master, who's a spiritual father, gives a spiritual name to the disciple who is his spiritual child. So let's try to understand this rasa. So there are 5 relationships or mellows which one can maintain with Krishna. It begins with Shanta rasa, then we have Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya rasa. Now, as we proceed from 1 to 5, the intimacy of the relationship increases more. So there is least intimacy in Shanta rasa and maximum intimacy in Madhurya rasa. So what relationship, each one of us has a relationship with Krishna. What is that rasa? That only we know and Krishna knows. And we don't have to reveal it to anyone. So Shanta rasa approaches the Lord with admiration of his greatness, opulence, etc. So here one admires the greatness of the Lord, but one is not actively serving the Lord. For example, the grass in Goloka. See, in the spiritual world, everything is animate. So even though there is grass, there is cows, but they're all animate. It's not like the consciousness we have here in the material world. So the grass, for example, admires Krishna, but the grass is not actively serving Krishna, or the trees. They are not actively serving Krishna, but it so happens that, let's say, Krishna walks on the grass, or Krishna is under the tree, under the shade of the tree, then they are serving Krishna, but they're not actively serving Krishna. In Dasya Ras, there is active servitude, just like Hanuman. One example of Dasya Ras is Hanuman. Hanuman is actively serving Lord Ramachandra. He's always there, ready at the beck and call of Lord Ramachandra to render whatever may be required. Then next we have the friendship, or the Sakhya Ras, which Krishna shares with his Gopa friends. Arjuna is another example of Sakhya Ras. So there is more intimacy in friendship than there is in Dasya, the servant of the Lord. Now, more intimacy is there in parental affection, or Vatsalya Ras. So here example is Yashoda. Definitely Yashoda's relationship with Krishna is more intimate than Arjuna's relationship with Krishna. So there is more intimacy in the Vatsalya Ras, parental affection. And then the maximum intimacy is there in Madhurya Rasa, where you relate to Krishna as your paramount lover. Because one may be inappropriately dressed in front of your partner, but one will not be inappropriately dressed in front of your parents. So therefore, there is more intimacy in Madhurya Rasa than there is in Vatsalya Rasa. So here, as Srila Prabhupada explained in the previous slide we saw, Arjuna's Rasa is changing from friendship to Vatsalya Rasa, because now, before he was seeing Krishna as his friend, now he's going to see Krishna as his spiritual master or spiritual father. So these are the 5 principal rasas. So you can see here in Goloka, we have the gopis here with Krishna. So here what rasa is being depicted?
Rasya dance.
No, what rasa? Madhurya rasa. Here he is with, who is she?
This is parental. This is Yashoda.
Yashoda. So parental. So what rasa is that?
Vatsalya.
Yes. Here he is with his friends.
This is Sakhya. Sakhya. And that's Dasya.
Here, this is Dasya Ras. And here?
This is
Santaras.
Shantaras. Very nice. Okay. Now Krishna is going to speak, right? Now in the next verse, Krishna is going to speak, and he begins giving Gita Gyan. Actually, Gita Gyan begins from the next verse. And it goes on till 18.66, because after 18.66, of course, there are more verses that are spoken by Krishna, but the knowledge as such, what he wants to give to Arjuna, ends at 18.66. Now, one may ask, and usually people ask this question, when Krishna and Arjuna were deep in conversation on the battlefield, what was everyone else in the 2 armies doing at that point of time? So the answer is simple. They were just waiting for Krishna and Arjuna discussion to end. It's very hard to believe this, no? Because our modern day concept of war is, if there is a war-like situation and both parties are ready to fight, they just fight. If there's going to be a conversation on the opposite side, are we going to wait, or are they going to wait in the modern day war for the people to finish?
No, they will not wait.
It's not going to happen in the modern day war, isn't it? But there is a vast difference between the there is a vast difference in the war of the previous ages, or the Mahabharata war, and the modern day war times. What is that? See, let's discuss. So first of all, in the Mahabharata war, or the war in the previous ages, was more a test of skill and strength. The point was not just to win, but to win through a fair fight. The point was they wanted to win through a fair fight. So it's unfair to attack an enemy when the enemy is not yet prepared for war. So these ethics and moral codes were followed in the previous ages. Planning. Date of war was decided in advance by both sides. No stealth attacks were launched. So both parties decided that, okay, war will begin on such a date. It's not that there was a surprise attack by one party on the other party. There were no, it was not that it was unexpected. They knew that we are going to fight on such a date. And location also was previously decided. They fought only in Kurukshetra, thereby preventing casualties. It was not that bombs were dropped in the cities and civilians were killed, innocent people were killed, children were killed. So therefore, the location also was previously decided to prevent casualties, to prevent the civilians from getting scheduled. Fighting only from sunrise to sunset with cordial intermingling thereafter. So therefore, these ethics were, okay, Venkatesh Prabhu, may I please request you to mute your microphone because there is disturbance. Okay, so these ethics and moral codes were fought in the wars in the previous ages. Now the question is, were these codes of conduct followed in the Mahabharata war? Because there were some codes that were broken. So definitely initially, as long as Bhishma Dev was the commander-in-chief of the Kauravas, all these rules and regulations, the codes of conduct were very much followed. Okay, so when Bhishma saw that there is a conversation going on the opposite side, he did not give the order to his army to launch the attack. So he saw, because you cannot attack an enemy when the enemy is not yet prepared for it. So therefore, when the conversation was going on, which went on for about 40 minutes, okay, this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna was for 40 minutes. The other party, they were simply waiting because the other party was not yet ready for the fight. So in fact, this was not the only incident that put the war on hold, the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So the two incidents that put the war on hold, one is, yes, the Krishna-Arjuna discussion. What was the other incident that put the war on hold? Does anybody know? After the conversation finished, something significant happened. Okay, let's see. Can you identify the personalities in the picture?
Yes, yes.
Who are they?
Krishna and Arjun. And it's Duryodhan and Pitama. I mean, Duryodhan and Bhishma Dev, I think. I'm not sure, but I think.
Okay, Bhishma Dev is correct, but this is not Duryodhan.
Oh, then it must be Arjun?
No.
No? It must be then Dronacharya.
No. Are you going to exhaust all the personalities?
Drishtadumna, no.
No, I think I heard Dipti say something. Did Dipti say something?
Yudhishthir?
Yudhishthir, yes, exactly. That's Yudhishthir. So why did Yudhishthir go to Bhishma Pitama? Who
To
knows?
ask his permission to start the war?
Ah, exactly. To ask his permission, to ask his blessings before the start of the war. Because Yudhishthir is so perfect, no? He's so good. So Yudhishthir, even after the discussion was done and everything was all set, he went to the opposite side. And how did he go? He went without any arms. He went walking. He went down his chariot. He walked to the opposite side without any arms, without any protection, without any armor for his protection. And he went and seek the blessings of Bhishma Dev. And even at that time, nobody attacked Yudhishthir because he's not prepared for the war. So these were the two incidents. Not only did he go to Yudhishthir, he also went to, not only did he go to Bhishma, he also went to other personalities. Whom do you think he went to? After Dronacharya, yes, because he is his teacher. Then whom else would he have gone to?
Shakuni Mama?
No, not Shakuni.
Dhritarashtra?
No, Dhritarashtra is in Hastinapur. The war is in Kurukshetra.
Okay.
Krishna? What's that?
Krishna?
No, Krishna, though, he's on his side only. Nah, this is opposite side. Who's the other Acharya?
Guru?
What's that?
Dro-
His name starts with D.
Dronacharya.
Dronash.
No, Dronacharya we already mentioned. He goes to Bhishma, he goes to Dronacharya. Then there are two more names.
Kripacharya.
Kripacharya, yes. And one more name. His uncle, who's a chariot driver of Karna. Who is Yudhishthir's uncle on the opposite side, who was a chariot driver of Karna? Shalva. Okay. So see. Yudhishthir descended from his chariot and walked unarmed and unprotected towards Bhishma's chariot to seek his blessings, followed by those of Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and Shalva. So actually, Bhishma, Dronacharya, and Kripacharya, they told him that if you would have not come to us to seek our blessings, we would have cursed you to lose the war. They told him that. So they actually blessed him that may you be victorious. Okay, so these are the two incidents that put the war on hold. The point is, when the enemy is unprepared, they did not attack, which is unthinkable for us. So that's therefore this question comes to our mind. Sometimes people say that actually this conversation never happened. How is it possible that in the middle of the war, such a long Bhagavad Gita has spoken? What was everybody else doing? Why? Because our modern day concepts that we have in our mind don't make us believe such things. We have these so much trash in our brains already, so we cannot understand so many things. Okay. Anyway, so with that, we come to the end of section 1. Now we will see section 2. In section 2, Krishna starts to give the knowledge to Arjuna. And in this section, Krishna counteracts the first argument of Arjuna as to why he does not want to fight the war. So what was Arjuna's first reason not to fight?
The familiars, his mothers and all his relatives.
What about them?
That he would have to fight them, and it was not correct according to him.
So he was feeling, in one word?
Compassion.
Compassion, yes, exactly, compassion. So here he counters Arjuna's compassion argument. See, another important point to understand Bhagavad Gita is that not once in the entire Bhagavad Gita, Krishna comes up with any of those circumstances that Arjuna has gone through, any of the injustice that Arjuna has gone through on the hands of the Kauravas as to why Arjuna should fight. Not once does he mention that, okay, they cheated you in that gambling match. They insulted your wife. They have taken away your kingdom. They have taken away all your riches. They tried to kill you in the wax house. They tried to kill your brothers, your mother. They tried to kill Bhim when he was a small baby. Not even once Krishna comes up with any of these circumstantial reasons as to why Arjuna should fight the war. Because if he would have mentioned that, then one can argue that, okay, but this did not happen to me, my wife was not insulted, nobody tried to kill me, or none of these things happened to me. So this message is not for me. It was only for Arjuna. It was specifically only for Arjuna, but it's not like that. Because Arjuna has asked for generic instructions, and Krishna also gives generic instructions. So these are universal laws which apply to each and every one of us, irrespective of whether we are man or woman, rich, poor, Indian, American. It doesn't, adult or child, it doesn't matter. These are universal principles, just like how the law of gravity is a universal law. It applies to everyone. Nobody's an exception. So therefore, Gita's message is a universal principle that applies to each and every one of us. So the Gita does not contain any of the circumstantial reasons for the war before which it was spoken. Those can be found in the Mahabharata. And what it does contain is the universal principles of living and for acting dutifully, that the duty of fighting is only incidental. Here in this case, that Arjuna's duty is that he has to fight. But it teaches us that how each one of us should act dutifully. So 11.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Pragyavadamscha bhashase Gatasuna Nanushocanti Panditaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna begins the knowledge by first of all chastising Arjuna. Because what is Krishna saying? That you are mourning for that which is not worthy of mourning. And he's saying that you're speaking learned words. So he's saying while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. So in other words, he's saying that you're talking big things, but actually what you're talking is nonsense. So that's what Krishna is saying. You are talking as though you're very learned, but actually you're talking like a fool, is what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. So he begins by chastising Arjuna. And he's saying that those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Those who are pandita, those who are the learned people, they do not lament for the living nor for the dead. Why? What is dying? The body or the soul?
Body.
Body is dying. Is the soul dying?
No.
No.
So therefore he's saying you're lamenting, you're only on the bodily platform. You're only at the bodily platform. But what you're looking at, they are only the bodies. So he's saying you're lamenting for death, but that is not worthy of lamenting, because the only thing that dies is the body. So he's using the word this prajna vadan, learned talk. So he's saying you're talking as though the talks are learned, but actually they are not worthy of lamentation. So sometimes to learn, we have to unlearn. Therefore, Krishna is initially chastising Arjuna that what you're lamenting for is not worthy of lamentation. So, which means he wants him to unlearn what he has already learned. Sometimes when we want to teach someone, we have to first try to remove the trash in their mind that they already have. Only then there is going to be space for the real knowledge. Like if I have a jug of water and it is already filled with water, and I pour water into the jug, what is going to happen? Will it hold any of the water that I'm pouring in? No, it will only overflow, isn't it? We have to first empty the jug, then only we can pour fresh water. So therefore, sometimes to learn, we have to unlearn. So first step in teaching is to dismantle students' misconception, which may require strong words. Sometimes to learn, we have to unlearn. So Krishna begins Gita Gyan by exposing Arjuna's faulty reasoning. That's the first thing that Krishna is doing. So one may think, oh, why is Krishna calling him a fool? Why is he saying that you're speaking big words, but actually it makes no sense. So we have to understand that God's purpose is not just to comfort us, it is also to challenge us and change us. So we may come across situations in our life when we feel challenged. And unless we don't feel challenged, we will not change. Unless something, because most of us are like that. Now we need a big jolt to jolt us out of our ignorance, to jolt us out of our sleep. So therefore the spiritual master or the Lord will come up with something that will jolt us out of it. Just like how a doctor, he has to treat his patient. The doctor will have kind words of comfort for us. But at times the doctor is also going to give us some bitter medicines. Sometimes the doctor is going to have to inject needles in our body, which we don't like. But then it has to be done for our own well-being. So God's purpose is not just to comfort us, it is also to challenge us and to change us. Because whatever doesn't challenge us does not change us. See, challenge causes change. At the Gita start, Arjuna has a particular conception of dharma, the right thing to do. So he has his conception of what is right and what is wrong. He thinks he should be non-violent and avoid fighting against his relatives. But then he realizes that if he abandons the fight, he will unintentionally commit violence to his closer relatives, his own brothers, who will have to bear the brunt of the aggression. Thus, this circumstance challenges his conception of what it means to be a good guy who does the right thing. So we will not change unless we are challenged. And that's what Krishna has done. He's challenging the conceptions of Arjuna that he already has. See, if we want to build muscles and we go to the gym to work out, let's say we have the capacity to lift 5 kilos. So if we lift less than 5 kilos, will we be able to build the muscles? No. To build muscles, we have to lift at least 5 or a little more than that. So we have to challenge our own limits. That's when we can build our muscles. So in the same way, even in life, unless we are not challenged, we are not going to learn or we are not going to improve. Education is not just meant for verbalization. It is meant for internalization or transformation. So what Krishna is telling Arjuna here, that you have only verbalized knowledge. You have knowledge, you're speaking learned words. Because Arjuna says so many big things. He says, I have learned from disciplic succession, and that there will be Varna Shankara, there will be unwanted population. Then he says that we will all go to hell. The ancestors will go to hell, and they will fall down from the heavenly planets. So yes, what he says is shastric. But then Krishna is saying that you have only verbalized education, but you have not internalized it because it has not transformed you. Still, you are on the bodily platform. Still, you are looking at them as the body. Still, you are only on the material platform. Another example of someone who verbalized education, but did not internalize education, did not undergo a transformation after their education. Famous personality from Ramayana is Ravan, exactly, because Ravan, he knew all the Vedas, he knew all the Shastras. In fact, he composed some very expert poetry to glorify Lord Shiva. It's not easy to compose Sanskrit verses. I mean, it requires a lot of intelligence to be able to do that. And he also knew all the Shastras by memory. But he only verbalized all that education. He did not internalize it. It did not lead to a transformation of his heart because he still had lusty desires. And that's why he wanted to take Sita away from Ram. He wanted to enjoy Sita, but he did not want Ram. In the same way, if we worship Lakshmi, but we don't worship Narayan, it's called demoniac mentality. We like to do Lakshmi Puja on Diwali, isn't it? But we don't want to worship Narayan. We want Lakshmi, but we don't want Narayan. We don't want to worship Narayan. But Lakshmi has to be worshipped always along with Narayan. You cannot have Lakshmi without Narayan. If you want to have Lakshmi without Narayan, then that's called demoniac mentality, because that's what Ravan wanted. Ravan wanted Sita, but he did not want Ram. See, Lakshmi by nature is chanchal. No, she doesn't stay in one place. She by nature keeps moving. The only place where Lakshmi is fixed up is where her husband is there, because Lakshmi is always by the side of Narayan. If you don't worship Narayan, then Lakshmi is not going to stay with you. She just moves because by nature she's chanchal. Okay, let's go to 12.
Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param.
Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Hare Krishna.
So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that the soul is eternal. What is he saying? Never was there a time when I did not exist. So Krishna is saying that he has always existed in the past. There was never a time when he did not exist. Na tva evaham. Nor you. Na tvam. Nor you. So there was never a time when even you did not exist. Then he's talking about Janadipaha. All these people, all these kings also, there was never a time when they did not exist. So the soul has always existed in the past. There was never a time when we did not exist. Then he says, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So there will never be a time in the future when we will not exist. So we have always existed and we will always continue to exist. It's just that the bodies are changing. Currently, we are in this particular body. In the previous lifetime, we were in some other body. In the next lifetime, we may be in some other body. So what happens when we go to the spiritual world? In the spiritual world, do we still have a body?
Yes, we have a spiritual body, our Sarup, our real Sarup.
In the spiritual world also we have the body, but we have a spiritual body. We do not have this material body. What is the difference between a material body and a spiritual body?
Material body deteriorates and it's changeable and it's temporary, and spiritual body, our Sarup, is not, it doesn't deteriorate, it's not changeable, and it's not temporary, it's Sanatan and it's internal, and it is all good, spiritualized.
Okay, very nice. Anybody else wants to answer? What is the difference between a material body and a spiritual body?
Spiritual body is always Sachina Anand, always in
Satchit
happiness.
Ananda, yes. Satchit Ananda. What do those three words mean? What does Sat mean?
The truth.
Sat means it is eternal.
Oh, eternal. Okay.
Chit means
Knowledge.
Heart.
knowledge, full of knowledge. So there is no ignorance. There is no trace of any ignorance in a spiritual body. And then Ananda,
Happiness.
happiness,
Transcendental
always transcendental happiness. So do we have that kind of happiness in the material world? Do we have happiness in the material world?
No.
No, it's no. We just have an illusion of happiness, temporary happiness, where mind thinks to be happy, but actually in reality there isn't any happiness.
Yeah, there are moments when we may be happy. Like Srila Prabhupada gave the example that the happiness in the material world is very brief. It's just like if somebody holds a man and puts him in the water and he's struggling for breath, and then he brings him up for a moment and then he takes one breath, and then again you push him in the water. So that one moment of breath that he gets of happiness, that's the kind of happiness we have in the material world. But then it's not ever increasing. But happiness or bliss in the spiritual world is ever increasing bliss. So everything is very blissful, and that bliss also is always increasing. It's not even at the same level. So that's the kind of happiness in the spiritual world. So yes, we don't have birth, death, disease, and old age. We are eternal spirit souls. In the spiritual world, there is no birth, death, disease, and old age. And we are, even here, we are eternal spirit souls. Just that the soul is covered by the material body. Now, how many kinds of material bodies exist? I mean,
3. Sukshma, right? Sukshma, and then Sukshma, and there, and the other one is the one that we see in the mirror, the one that we do not see, the mind and the body, and then I'm not getting the name, but
okay. Anybody else wants to try? The soul has 2 coverings.
Stool, Sukshma and stool, right?
Okay, give me the English. Sukshma
the gross body.
Gross body.
Gross
body and other is? Subtle body. Subtle body. Yes. Gross body. Exactly. Gross body and subtle body. So what is a subtle body made up of?
False ego, mind, intelligence.
Mind, intelligence, and false ego. That is the subtle body. And what is a gross body made up of?
Of the 5 elements.
Of the 5 elements. So what we see in the mirror is gross body or subtle body?
We see the gross body.
The gross body, exactly. What we see in the mirror is the gross body. Now at death, what happens? What leaves the body?
Soul leaves the body.
Oh yeah.
The soul leaves the body, and what happens to the gross body?
The gross body gets burned. It gets changed. We get another one.
And what happens to the subtle body?
The body enters another body.
The subtle body enters another body.
No.
And when does the subtle body dissolve completely?
When we come to the real ego, which is our sarup, through the bhakti, when our heart contamination is gone.
So what happens when our contamination is completely gone?
Then we get rid of the gross body. We come to the other body, spiritual body.
And where are we located geographically?
Meaning in the heart. Meaning?
Okay, wait. Now death happens. The soul leaves the gross body along with the subtle body. We discussed that. Okay. So when the subtle body is completely dissolved, where is the soul located?
The soul is located outside the gross body.
Join with the God, reunion
in the
with
spiritual world. In the spiritual world, as soon as the subtle body is dissolved, it dissolves because we enter the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, only the spirit soul can enter. There is no space for any kind of subtle or gross body in the spiritual world. So now we didn't discuss one very, very important point. When when death occurs, the soul and the subtle body leave the gross body, and then the gross body is burnt or buried according to one's religious beliefs. Okay, but something else also leaves the body, gross body. What is that?
Can you give us a guess?
Mind.
What's that, Kalpana Mataji?
Mind.
No, mind is part of the subtle body. So subtle, when we say subtle body, it is mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Atma,
Soul is leaving along with the subtle body and
Super soul.
super soul, exactly, the Paramatma. Very nice. That's an excellent answer. So super soul, the Lord is in the heart of every living entity as a super soul. So even the super soul leaves the body. So that's when the person is declared dead. So when does the Paramatma leave us? Or when does the Paramatma leave the Atma?
When the soul
Never.
gets liberated.
No,
When
never.
the soul is liberated, exactly. When we attain liberation or when we go to the spiritual world, that is when the Paramatma leaves the Atma. As long as we are in this material world, taking birth after birth from through the animals, birds, aquatics, even the worm in the stool, or even the body of Lord Brahma, the Paramatma is accompanying us life after life after life after life after life after life. He never abandons us. The only time he leaves us is when we enter the spiritual world. Why does he leave us when we enter the spiritual world?
Because, excuse me, because that's where he wants you to be.
Exactly. That's where, yeah, you have reached your destination, isn't it? That's where he wants you to be. He's reached your destination. We don't require the guidance of the Paramatma anymore because there we are with the Bhagavan feature of the Lord.
Yeah, that's right. You reached your destination. That's exactly what it is.
Yes, exactly. So Paramatma leaves our side only when we have already realized the Bhagavan feature. We have entered the spiritual world. So we don't require the guidance. So as long as the guidance is required in this material world, the Paramatma is there with us. See how merciful the Lord is. And when we say my consciousness is pricking me, I cannot do this. What is that consciousness? It's the Paramatma who's guiding us from within. It's the Paramatma. That's our consciousness. But unfortunately, some of us stop listening to the consciousness, but he is always guiding us from within. Where is the soul and the super soul located? Where are they located?
Heart.
In the core of the heart. Exactly, in the core of the heart. See, brain and heart are the two very, very important organs in the body. But one can be brain dead, but he can still continue to live. But once the heart stops, the person is declared dead. So why? Because the soul and the super soul, they leave the heart. So that's when the heart stops beating. That's when a person is declared dead. But one can be brain dead and still continue to live. Why? Because they are not located here. They are located in the heart. So see, here Krishna is saying that I have always existed, I will continue to exist, you have always existed, you continue to exist, and all these kings, which means the soul always exists. One should not think that after liberation, I will cease to exist. No, even after liberation, we continue to exist because the soul never ceases to exist. Even when we are one with the Lord, we continue to exist. We continue to maintain our individuality. Very, very important lesson, which very few people of the world population can understand. So this watermelon example we have given in the past, just as how the seeds of the watermelon are one with the seed, one with the fruit, still they are maintaining their individuality. They have not lost their individuality. See, here is a picture of Vaikuntha planets. We can see the Lord here, and all these are all spirit souls, the spiritual bodies, and each one of them is rendering some service to the Lord. So even in the spiritual world, we are rendering service because our original identity is that we are servants of the Lord. So we serve the Lord even in the spiritual world. You can see somebody is playing musical instruments for his pleasure. Somebody is plucking flowers for his pleasure. Somebody is going to offer him flowers. Somebody is fanning him with the chamara. Somebody is worshipping his lotus feet. Somebody is offering prayers. So like that, each one of us has a unique service for the Lord in the spiritual world. Yeah, I saw Neha raising her hand.
Mataji, if we reach our destination, still the soul continues to exist?
Exactly, yes. That is exactly what Krishna is saying, that there will never be a time when you will not exist. The soul always exists, will always maintain its individuality.
The soul never dies. It never
Soul
dies.
never dies. Exactly. It's not something that just disappears, vanishes, gone. No, it's not like that. The soul always exists.
Is this the address of Prabhupada, the Vaikuntha Lokas? Is this where he is? Or the Goloka Vrindavan? Or...
It's very hard to say where Prabhupada is. How can we answer that question?
Oh, meaning when we go back to Godhead, we're going to go to Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan, where
No,
Prabhupada...
now see, where we go depends on two things. Depends on what we deserve and what we desire. If we want to go to Goloka, we have to desire it, and we also have to deserve it. If I want to perform a multi-organ transplant surgery, I should desire to do it, and I should also deserve to do it. No, I should have the qualification. Otherwise, who's going to allow me to perform the surgery? Now, I may have the qualification. I may have studied and I have got my degree and I'm qualified to do the surgery. But if I don't desire to do it, is anybody going to force me to perform the surgery? Nobody can force me to do it, isn't it? So I have to deserve it, and I also have to desire it. Depending on these two factors, we will reach Goloka or Vaikuntha or heaven or hell, whatever.
Mataji, what is the difference between Vaikuntha and Goloka?
Okay, so in Goloka, Krishna is residing eternally as a 16-year-old boy. And in the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord is residing in his four-handed Narayan form. So in Goloka, the residents of Goloka do not know that Krishna is God. So they enjoy more intimate pastimes with Krishna. But in Vaikuntha planets, one is aware that Krishna is God. So the relationship is more formal, more reverential. They are aware that Krishna is God. So the intimacy is a little less than Goloka. So it's God at home and God in office. The same person at home is so casual. No, he's playing with the child is climbing on the back of the father becomes a horse for the child. So the relationship is informal and there is more intimacy. But the same father, when he's in the office and he's with his workers over there, the relationship is more formal, it's more reverential, more respectful. So that's the difference between Goloka and Vaikuntha.
I have another question. So in this material world, when you're praying and serving the Lord, we're praying and serving him as our Lord, right? Lord Krishna. So how does that change that after, if you desire to go to Goloka, now you will have pastimes with him as a friend, and you'll forget that this is the real God, this is the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, so see, Srila Prabhupada said that when we begin our devotional life, when we begin our spiritual journey, it's always reverential. But as we proceed more and more, as we advance more and more in our spiritual lives, then it is revealed to us what is the rasa. What is the rasa that we share with the Lord. So also depends on what kind of pastime you are attracted to. If you're attracted to Narayan, because see, many people worship Lakshmi Narayan. They like to worship Lakshmi Narayan because they're attracted to that form of the Lord. Or they are attracted to Narsimhadev, or they are attracted to Shri Shri Gauranitai, or they are attracted to Lord Ramachandra. For example, Hanuman is interested in Ayodhya. He wants to go to that part of the spiritual world where Lord Ramachandra is residing. There is an Ayodhya in the spiritual world also. So Hanuman is not interested in going to Goloka. So depends on what form of the Lord you are attracted to, what is it that you desire, and of course what you have to deserve it also. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, Aja Mataji, you have your hand raised.
Why all are in blue color, the men in the picture? They all are blue.
Oh, because they have, remember there is one liberation Swarupa. So the residents there, they have the same form of the Lord, but the Lord has certain distinguishing marks like the Srivatsa. He has a Srivatsa mark and a curl on his chest, which distinguishes him from all others, but they all look like him.
Who all?
The residents or the souls who have attained liberation and they have attained the
Okay.
Yeah.
They all look like him, but he has a curve on the chest. That's how we.
Yes,
Okay,
and the
okay.
Srivatsa mark. So there are two or three. I'm not too sure about that, but Yeah, the curl on his chest and the Srivatsa mark is what distinguishes him.
Okay. So, but the females are all white in color, not blue, right?
Oh, you are a very observant student.
I don't know.
Yeah, they are here in the picture, they appear golden complexion because that's the complexion of Srimati Radharani.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Can I ask one more question? Might be a
Yes.
stupid question, but so I thought like Lord Krishna is the only Purusha, right? So how come there are other souls that are males?
Oh, in the spiritual world, you have male, female, you have cows, you have grass, you have trees, you have day and night also. Although time is absent in the spiritual world, but you still have them. So it's both yes and no. For the pleasure of the Lord, they exist. To serve the Lord, they exist in different forms.
So how is one determined if he's a male or female?
How it is determined, again, what one deserves and what one desires.
Okay.
Desires is the main thing. When you desire to be with Krishna in a particular mood, then you deserve that particular mood, you work hard for it, and then you become a male or a female
How
according to
how is the desire that you want to serve Krishna? You want to serve Krishna in the Shantarasa, then you become grass, you become tree in spiritual world, but you're still liberated. You're still liberated. Or you want to have your rasa with Krishna as that of friendship, or your rasa with Krishna as that of conjugal. So
Sorry to interrupt you. So did you mean that even if we are a grass, we don't have any more birth and death? We are eternal there, right? Okay.
Correct. Yes. Once you are in the spiritual world, you will not come back. Krishna promises that in the Gita, that once you attain the spiritual world, you remain there forever. You will not come back here again. So one should not think that, oh, I work hard and I follow the regulative principles and every day I spend 2 hours chanting my 16 rounds and I go to the spiritual world. But again, if I come back, then what is the use? So no, once you go there, you stay there. That's Krishna's promise. So why did we come here in the first place? If we were there, originally we were there, we said, then why are we here in the first place? Is the next obvious question, isn't it?
because we desire to.
Because we desire to. So what's the guarantee that once we go back, we will not desire to come here again?
Because it's the oath of Krishna, it's the promise of Krishna. Oh, we still have a free will. And but Krishna says, once you become my devotee, once you surrender to me, once you worship me, once you follow me, once you are with me, then you no longer be with material energy.
No, but the question is, originally we were in the spiritual world. When we were in the spiritual world originally, of course, we were with him. We were his devotees. That's why we were with him in the spiritual world. So why did we come down here in the first place?
Because we had this desire to enjoy separately from him. So Krishna made this material world for us to enjoy. And
we envied him.
Yeah, envied him as well. But then he made this, and then we came here, we did our little thing, and now we want to go back to him permanently, never to return back, only to return back to serve him if as he pleases. And so that's the thing.
Yeah, so what you're saying is correct. We are here because we desire to enjoy independently from him. Now, what is the guarantee that after we go back to the spiritual world, again, we will not desire to enjoy independently and come back, is the question.
Because once we become completely surrender means no more enjoying separately from Krishna.
No, but when we were originally in the spiritual world, we were fully surrendered, right? At that point, when we were in the spiritual world, we were fully surrendered. Otherwise, we would have not been there in the first place. Because in the spiritual world, there is no space for even marginally for such emotions.
Okay, Mataji, give it away.
Okay, let's say anybody else. Is the question clear or no?
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why do souls get disorientated and don't reach to the destination?
Because Krishna has a servant who does her job to perfection. Her name is Maya Devi. So Maya Devi perfectly executes her service. So she tests the determination of each one of us. So she is going to bring in our path so many temptations, and she's going to test our determination. Do you really want it? Do you really want Krishna? Look, I have this for you. So are we going to get distracted, or are we going to remain focused? Are we going to choose Krishna, or are we going to choose Maya? So if we choose Maya, then we get distracted. And if we choose Krishna, then we are on our way back home, back to Godhead. So it's Maya Devi who distracts us to test our determination. Because we should really want it. We should really want Krishna, just like how a child's cry for the mother. See, the child may be playing, the mother is doing something else. But when the child starts to cry loudly, the mother will drop everything and come to the child. So our desire for Krishna should be like that of a crying child.
But is there a guarantee that all the disoriented souls finally reach the destination, or some of them just get lost?
Yeah, some of them
a technical question
can get lost if they never surrender to Guru and Krishna. In order to go to your destination, we have to surrender to Guru and Krishna. Otherwise, there is no other way.
But eventually we all, right? But after so many births, and I was thinking like that, maybe it takes longer time if you don't take in, but one point of time you will learn God is everything and you will go back, every one of us.
So that point of time when we will learn is only when we surrender to Guru and Krishna. That unless we don't do that, we will be taking birth again and again and again and again, and millions and trillions and quadrillion lifetimes. The cycle is repeated again and again and again.
But eventually you will reach. At some point it will reach.
If you surrender to Guru and Krishna, that if is always there.
There's always
because see, when Kali Yuga ends, what happens to those souls who are not yet qualified? Mahavishnu breathes in, and all the material planets, along with all the souls who are still in the material world, everyone goes in the body of Mahavishnu. Now we are inside the body of Mahavishnu, but we don't deserve liberation because we didn't surrender to Guru and Krishna. So that doesn't mean that we are liberated. When he breathes out, again we are in this material world. So for him, it's just one breath, and for us, it's quadrillion lifetimes. So eventually, if we have to go back home, back to Godhead, we have to surrender to Guru. So if we surrender to Guru and Krishna, then we will go back.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to happen. Thanks. Again, the cycle just continues.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I got it.
And surrender means we have to follow all the rules that are specified in the.
Yeah, surrender means you follow the rules under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master.
Okay. If you don't have a guru, then that means you are not surrendered. Okay.
If you don't have one, find one.
No, okay.
Yeah, because you can surrender to Krishna only by surrendering to a guru. If you want to meet the president of the country, you have to go through a secretary. Can you just call the president and say, hey, I want to meet you? No, you have to go through the formalities. So Guru is that person who removes it. See, we start our classes with Om Agyana Timirandasya. No, what does that verse mean? Om Agyana Timirandasya. Timi means darkness. Agyana means ignorance. So darkness is compared to ignorance. Om Agyana Timirandasya. Then Jnananjana Shalakaya. Shala means the torch of light, and Jnananjana means Jnana or knowledge. So Jnananjana Shala, so knowledge is compared to light. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshur Unmilitam. Chakshu means eyes. Unmilitam means to open. So the eyes are open and one is brought to light, to the light of knowledge from the darkness of ignorance. And who is that personality who does that? Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So the spiritual master is that personality who opens our eyes and brings us from darkness to light, who brings us from ignorance to knowledge. And to that personality, Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama, to that person I offer my respects. That's what that verse means.
So is that mantra help us to control Maya?
Yeah, if you have to see, in our Shastras, there are several hundreds and thousands of mantras, several other. But if you want one mantra, which is the greatest of all mantras, which includes all other mantras, it's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. There, nothing can beat it.
Okay, that mantra can also control
Yeah, that's
Maya.
the Maha Mantra. That's the Maha Mantra. It's the mantra of all the mantras.
Okay.
It's the mantra packed with so much potency in Kali Yuga that in very small time you can make great advancement. You're already chanting, right, Aja?
Yeah, I'm chanting. Yeah.
Good.
I can
Yes.
see the difference, yeah.
You can already see the difference. Very nice. Yes. Yes, Neha.
If root cause of everything is desires, so I don't think Goloka Vrindavan mein Maya exists karti hai. So
No, in Golok Vrindavan there is no. In Golok Vrindavan there is no Maya. Maya is here in the material world.
Yeah, so when we have conquered the desires and got liberated, and when there is no Maya in Goloka Vrindavan,
Root cause of desires is Maya.
Because the root cause of desire is Maya. So there is, if there is no Maya, then we will not desire to come back.
So what is the question?
No, the question for your thing, the answer for your thing, that what is the guarantee that we'll not come again back to the...
You're answering that question. Okay. But then why we came here in the first place? So you are saying that there is no desire in the spiritual world, so therefore we will not come down. But then why we came in the first place then? Originally
No. There is a desire in the spiritual world. There's a desire to serve Krishna.
So why did we come to the material world?
Is it to know the difference?
To know the difference. Who wants to know the difference?
The soul wanted to experience what it is without, right?
Okay, so what is the guarantee that after we go back we will not have that desire again?
Krishna's
wanted
independence. Now when we have seen that we don't like the independence, we'll feel that we don't want to come again.
Correct. Very nice. Because now we have already had the experience, so we don't want to do it again because we have learned our lesson. We have already learned our lesson. Okay. So we were in the spiritual world, but at some point the desire came in our heart that I want to enjoy independently from God. I want to see what it is like to be God, what it is like to be the controller, what it is like not to be the servant, because we are serving the Lord. So what it is like to be the master, to be served. I want to be the Lord of all that exists. That feeling we get sometimes. So we want to be the controllers. We don't like to be controlled. So when we were in the spiritual world, the desire came that, okay, I want to see what it is like to be independent from God, what it is like to be the controller, not the control. So the moment that thought occurs, boom, we are here in the material world, because in the spiritual world, there is no space for such emotions. So here in the material world, then we realize that, oh, I'm not happy being independent from God. I'm not happy being independent from my God, my Father. So then we learn our lesson and then we go back. And now that we have already learned our lesson, we will not come back again. Just like how if you tell a child, don't touch this fire, the child out of curiosity will go and touch the fire, isn't it? But once the child burns his finger in that fire, will he ever go and touch that fire again? Will he do it again? He will not do it again, because now he has learned his lesson. Okay. So we were there originally. We came here because of this, this desire, but we will not. And once we go back, we will not come back again, because we have learned our lesson. We have already burnt our finger in this material world. Okay. Okay. I think we should stop here. Let me see if we have more slides regarding. Okay, see here in this photo, we have Goloka. Krishna is playing with his friends, Gopa friends. So here, these personalities who have attained liberation, they don't know that Krishna is God. So they are enjoying more intimacy. And here we can see a soul, he's entering Golok Vrindavan. So this is, it is at this point that the subtle body leaves the soul. So here you have Golok Vrindavan. You have Vaikuntha planets, which are like the petals of the lotus. So Goloka Vrindavan is like the whirl or the center part of the lotus, and the Vaikuntha planets are the petals of the lotus. And then we have the Brahma Jyoti, or the light emanating from Krishna's body. So it is in this Brahma Jyoti that all these planets are floating. And one corner of the spiritual world is the material world. Here you can see it's like a dark cloud. In one corner of the spiritual world is the material world. In this material world, here is another picture of this dark cloud. This is the material world. This is Goloka, and these are the Vaikuntha planets. So in this dark cloud, who is residing? The first incarnation of Krishna in the material world, who is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is by his breathing, he is creating universes. So there are millions and trillions and quadrillion universes. Each universe has 14 planetary systems. So Mahavishnu then expands, and then we have Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who enters into each universe. So every universe has its Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, a lotus emerges, and from that lotus comes out Lord Brahma. You can see Lakshmi Devi is worshipping the feet of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Actually, her place of residence is his heart. She resides here. This is her residence, his heart. But she chooses to come here out of her own voluntary service. And then here you can see Mahavishnu's expansion. So these bubbles here, they are all golden. The universes are all golden egg-shaped universes. Okay, so within each universe, you have Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then within each universe, there are so many living entities. So Garbhodakashayi Vishnu expands as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, or the Paramatma, and he resides into the heart of every living entity, right from the small ant up to Lord Brahma. So here you have the three Vishnus: Mahavishnu, or Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So there are three Vishnus. So we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gita ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, I want to Divya Budrani, who regularly attends our classes, she lost her father-in-law this morning. He passed away. And I would request you, let's all chant the Maha Mantra 3 times and dedicate it so that the soul can have a higher destination, or at least the next birth in a devotee family. If not, definitely our desire is that he attains the lotus feet of the Lord. So let's chant.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai, Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jisranam Mataji ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank you.
Yes, Shivani, you have your hand
My
raised?
mom is on the call today for the first time under
Oh,
my
very
name.
nice.
Today is her material birthday as well. So
Oh.
please, all of you, bless her and pray for her that, if she attains next birth, she can be in a Vaishnava's family, or this life itself, she can go back to Godhead. That's my humble request to all of you.
Welcome. We welcome you all. Thank you
Welcoming
for
respected
joining
Ma.
us, Mataji, and
Thank you,
let's all
Mataji.
chant for her spiritual
Hare
life.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining us.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all for
Hare
your
Krishna.
prayers.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.